Good evening and welcome to Muse on the News. I'm Lisa.
I'm Cal.
I'm Molly. And I'm Jana.
And tonight we are absolutely thrilled and delighted to be joined by Fran and Natalie from the Fostering Team at Surrey County Council. Thanks so much for joining us, girls.
Thanks for having us.
Hi.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Would you mind just telling us really briefly why we've invited you along to be with us tonight?
Yeah, so I'm Fran from the Fostering Team at Surrey County Council. We're joining you tonight because it is LGBT Fostering Adoption Week. So we wanted to get together with you guys, celebrate, educate, connect, and just get the word out there about fostering in Surrey, really.
Fantastic. Well, we're really pleased that you've decided to join us tonight. It's wonderful, isn't it?
It's lovely.
So for anyone who hasn't tuned into the show before, where have you been, for a start? And secondly, what we tend to do is we choose some articles from the media. We have a little bit of a chinwag about them, generally become quite opinionated, strong women, and try and have a laugh while we're doing it.
That's exactly what we do.
Spot on. So we've got Fran. We've got another lady there that we need to introduce herself.
Hi. That's really funny. I'm always called the lady by people's children, so that's a really good introduction. When's the lady coming to do the visit? Hi, I'm Natalie. I'm one of the social workers in the fostering team. So my job is to assess people to become foster carers, and I work jointly with Fran. So I'm really excited to be here chatting with you tonight. So
Really thrilled to have you. Right, shall we crack on?
Shall we move on to the first article, ladies?
We shall.
Sure.
Jana, talk to us.
Oh, this is me. Indeed. So this is the article that tells us. Yeah, and it's hard to believe, but we are now in March, and actually. First week of March is marked as LGBTQ Fostering and Adoption Week. This is a campaign that's been run for, I think, 9 years by an amazing UK's leading charity called New Family Social. And really, this encourages LGBTQ people to adopt and foster. And, you know, I have been talking to a few people because Surrey County Council and Pride in Surrey have joined up on this, and they've connected us with some amazing people and have been talking about this. Just how, and I really don't want to use the word easy because it's not easy, but it's not difficult. But it just shows that you can be LGBT person and you can adopt and foster just like any other couple, or actually you don't have to be in a couple. Since I believe 2005, you don't even have to be married. You can be a single parent and you can be LGBT and you can adopt or foster. I think the only difference is that when you're trying to adopt, you have to be 21, and when you're trying to foster, you can be as young as 18. So, but girls can confirm that maybe or not.
It's also 21 for fostering as well. So 21 plus. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So maybe what I was reading wasn't quite correct. But do you know what? I think that's a good thing. 21 is probably better than 18. But this article also talks about two ladies, same-sex couple called Diane and Bev, and they've been fostering for about 8 years. And the only thing they wish is that they've done it sooner. Because I believe it must be so rewarding because they're absolutely loving it. So I think it's such a fantastic topic to talk about, because there, as you ladies probably know, there are so many kids out there that need help, and you know, to be able to foster when you're LGBT, I think that's fantastic, and I don't see why you shouldn't. So maybe you can give us maybe a few figures, how many LGBT people or couple or single people are fostering at the moment in Surrey. I think Surrey County Council has been incredible. The people I have talked to, they said they have had incredible training. They are so well prepared by Surrey County Council before they start fostering, and that's really good to hear. So we're really happy to have you here to tell us a little bit more about it.
Oh, good. Well, we're really glad to be here. I mean, obviously, we're very passionate about it. It's our jobs, it's our livelihoods, but I just love talking to people about fostering because, you know, if you speak to any foster carer, LGBT plus or not, they've all got fantastic stories. And I think what you were saying and what's in the article about the women saying, you know, we wish we'd done it sooner. I'm pretty sure if you spoke to our foster carers, I think pretty much one of our foster carers actually said, you know, one of the things she was saying when she was doing a video for us was just, I wish I'd done it sooner. I wish I hadn't waited until I was a bit older. And I guess, yeah, just kind of going back to what you said, Jana, like in Surrey, there are about 1,000 children, looked after children. So that means about 1,000 children, what we would call in care. But the term looked after just means that essentially they're looked after by Surrey County Council, and it's up to us to help find them a safe and stable place to live. So yeah, there is definitely a huge need for foster carers, because although we've got you know, roughly 1,000 children in care, we've got only about 400 to 450 foster carers. So there is a need there. And I'd say in terms of our LGBT plus foster carers, year on year, we're really increasing. I think we've seen the biggest uptake in the last couple of years, actually. Not sure why. I don't know if it's just we put more myth-busting messaging out there. But we've just seen many more couples and single people actually coming forward wanting to foster. And I think it's really important to also think about, like, you don't have to be in a relationship to foster. And I think there are so many myths around fostering, and being LGBT plus is just one of them. Like, so many people think, well, I can't foster because I'm gay or whatever else, or however I identify now, I'm trans, I can't foster. And that's just not true. So yeah, it'd be great for people watching this to think, oh, this is something I thought about for a long time, or thought would have liked to have done, but maybe thought you couldn't because you were single, or maybe even, you know, you thought, oh, because I'm LGBT plus, or because I rent my home, I don't own my home. All of these things are not a barrier to fostering.
That is really good to know. And I believe, Natalie, you deal with the people in process of fostering. So would you say that, is there a difference to fostering and adoption, or is the process quite lengthy, or how
yeah, so Fran and I work more for the fostering side of things, but we do work closely with our colleagues in adoption. So the process to be sort of approved as a foster carer or adopter is around 6 months. I just wanted to pick up on what Fran was saying about myth busting, though, because it's so interesting, the feedback I've had from some LGBT couples that I've assessed that were saying they still worried that there would be discrimination, or that the process would be more difficult or more challenging for them because of their LGBT plus status. And I was just thinking to myself, well, I know it's not going to be, because I would treat you with the same respect I treat anyone else. But there are still those worries out there that the process is going to be more difficult or more challenging. But I think as part of the process to become a foster carer or adopter, you are assessed by a social worker. And I think you get to know your social worker and they get to know you really well throughout the process. So it means, like, if at times you are having challenging conversations, you know, that those kind of things are quite natural, and that it's an open working relationship. So I would say to anyone that wants to foster or adopt, just come forward and be as honest as you can, and we'd be really happy to hear from you and get to know you as people, and hopefully you get to know us as a service and the wonderful things that fostering and adoption can offer you likewise. So
I've got to say, from what I heard from it was actually a same-sex couple I was talking to, and one single LGBT parent mother. That there was just, they couldn't big you up enough, you know, like, as a service. Absolutely fantastic. All the help they had, and the couple I was talking to. Actually, their situation wasn't easy, because I don't think they were even in Surrey when they started the process of fostering. And they talk about that in their interview. And Surrey County Council was just so helpful and just so fantastic. And I couldn't use the word incredible and fantastic enough in the interview. I'm just so glad we sort of got together with you guys, because I learn something new every day, and I'm almost thinking about fostering now, which is wrong with me.
No, I think it's really lovely to hear good feedback from people, because we do have, like, a specific sort of division of fostering, like focusing on recruitment, and we do, like, desperately care about people from that point onwards. As soon as we get your application form, we're like, right, what information can we give you and how can we help you to feel ready as well? So it's not just take from our perspective. We want to give you training and support as well. Because, you know, at the end of the day, if you're having a child move in with you, that's a massive commitment. But it's also a very exciting commitment and an exciting journey in which you can grow on. So it's lovely to hear good news.
You're taking notes.
Yeah. I think one of the other great myths around fostering is that you can't do it if you have birth children. And I think that that's a massive thing to try and break down. That's not strictly true, is it, girls?
Not true at all. So many of our foster carers have birth children, and again, it's not going to be a barrier to fostering. And even if you haven't had children, some people think the opposite. So we quite often get people saying, "I've not had children, can I foster?" It's like, well, of course you can. As long as you've got some kind of experience with people or children, can even be really beneficial as well. But I think when you have your own children, I think a lot of parents might worry, well, how's this going to work, bringing another child into the dynamic? And that's something that Natalie and our other colleagues across our little recruitment and assessment team will work out with you. So they will talk to you about, they'll talk to you about your family, but they'll talk to the whole family, and everybody's views get taken into consideration. It's, fostering is a family thing, so yeah, having birth children is definitely not a barrier to fostering at all. It just means thinking about, well, how's this going to work with our current family dynamic?
It's so refreshing. There's been so many changes over the decades, last couple of decades. I think it's fantastic. It's wonderful. And I think we're in a really positive place with it. And now is the time, everybody. If you fancy it, give it a go. And can people give you a ring for an initial conversation? Can they just have a general inquiry?
Yeah, give us a call for a general conversation. We've got an event coming up on Saturday, the 6th of March at 11 a.m. We will be posting links to that on our social media, so you don't even have to call up and book on. You can just click on the link on the day at that time, join the session. It's specifically focused around LGBT plus fostering and adoption week. So we have one of our same-sex couples who foster talking about their experiences. We've got a couple of young people who, LGBT plus young people who are coming along who've been living with foster care, so they've left care now, and so they'll talk about their experiences as well. And I think that's one thing I was just kind of going to say, actually, the change in it is how positive a role model you will be for young people in care as well, who may be struggling a little bit in their current family dynamic due to them identifying as LGBT plus and not feeling accepted by their family. That can even be a reason for family breakdown sometimes. And so it's really important for LGBT plus people to come forward and foster and adopt, and so that, children coming in who are in care who are LGBT plus and perhaps haven't even come out yet, or are able to kind of see that it's okay across the board. There are LGBT plus families there. So when I grow up, I can have my family. I can build my family. So
I think that's really important. In my role as a youth worker, I work with LGBT kids, and actually if you haven't come from that family and that's struggling to accept you, and actually you've never seen that positive dynamic, actually it's really hard. And knowing that if you do have to leave your family for a certain amount of time, then actually you could be going somewhere that really understands you, and you're just going to settle in a little bit easier, aren't you? And I suppose that kind of comes with you trying to place a child with the appropriate family where you think they're going to flourish and settle for a while as well.
Yeah,
it's really important.
I think that's the thing. We're looking for people that are open-minded as well, and we know sort of the identity, not just LGBT, but sort of all sorts of facets of identity are a spectrum. So we're looking for people that are excited to work with diverse kids and are excited to work with diverse professionals, and really embrace that. So I think if you're thinking about it, I really would encourage you to give us a call or drop us an email, because there isn't any pressure just from making that call or that email. We're all quite friendly. We're very friendly people, and we're just very passionate about getting really good carers for our children, because I think in part of all of us there is, it's sort of that want for the children to have, and young people to have, good, loving, safe, caring homes. And that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, no matter what your identity is. So.
Brilliant.
Fantastic.
Right. Okay. On that note, I think we better move on to the next article. So it's your one next.
It's mine next, yeah. And I found really interesting, actually, and I kind of felt that it fit in with our theme this week, with it being LGBT Fostering Adoption Week. It was really interesting that a judge, this is a UK case, a UK judge has ruled that a Christian adoption agency cannot discriminate against same-sex parents. It did, however, find that they can discriminate against non-religious parents, but there's different laws, isn't there, with regards to religious freedom. But I just think now I'm very, very pleased there's been a precedent set in the UK to prevent LGBT discrimination with regards to fostering and adoption. I think people might be worried that going to an agency that's been run by a faith group might mean that they don't get a foot in the door. But now there's been that legal precedent set which says it doesn't actually matter, and that can only be a hugely positive thing, don't we think?
100%, yeah, definitely. And I think, yeah, it's really worrying to think that any agency would discriminate against somebody in terms of, as Natalie was just saying, about diversity and inclusion and actually accepting every facet of somebody's identity, no matter what that is. And it's quite worrying that there was a time when an agency was discriminating against LGBT plus couples and same-sex couples, because if you think about it, or even same-sex single applicants, one of the stats that gets put out year on year, and actually in the last couple of years it's even increased. So a couple of years ago, New Family Social, which was the charity we were talking about before, they're kind of the leading charity for UK-based LGBT plus foster carers and adopters. And a couple of years ago, it was, the stats that they gathered about adoption in particular was that 1 in 7 adoptions was to LGBT plus people. And it's now increased, it's now 1 in 6. So, the stats are there. It's showing that, particularly with adoption, more and more same-sex couples or single same-sex applicants are coming forward to adopt children. So, yeah, it's absolutely fantastic to then, as you said, have that legislation there to say, actually, you cannot discriminate. And it's great to have conversations with you guys like this to debunk those myths and say, you can foster, you can adopt, you can build your family through these means if you are LGBT plus. It is no longer being discriminated against, even by law now for agencies like that. Although one would worry about an agency like that anyway, because again, what we were talking about, we're here for the outcomes for the children. Essentially, we want to make sure these children have, can achieve their potential and be the best they can be and thrive with the families they're living with. So it's quite worrying for me on a personal level to think about, well, what would happen to these adopters if, how many of these adopters have adopted babies? As a baby, you're not going to know if you're going to be lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, whatever else. So how, as those children grow up, and if they're growing up in a household where the beliefs are so strongly against that, what's that going to mean for them? And it breaks my heart to think that there are children that are being adopted into families like that when, they may have already had a really difficult start in life due to abuse and neglect anyway. So, yeah, it's really good that that's kind of being stamped out.
Though, just because people are going through an agency based upon their faith, it doesn't mean that they are necessarily homophobic or transphobic or hold those beliefs. A lot of people
exactly
about their faith, but I'm sure in the work you do, you very much look to put the right young people with the right families. And if a young person comes from a position of strong faith, I'm sure you do everything you can to accommodate that when looking for a caring family for them, don't you? It's just a no-brainer.
Yeah, exactly. Go on,
it's just, I was going to say, I just find that interesting because, like Fran just saying, from the perspective of percentage, stats-wise, of number of LGBT plus people that adopt and foster, they really are, well, discriminatory, but also cutting off their nose despite their face for the number of really good quality carers that could potentially be coming forward. And I think sort of any sort of discrimination, again, it's something that's tarring us all with the same brush, isn't it? To think, oh, okay, that fostering agency or back Christian agency and things like that. So it sort of it does aggravate you, I think, for multiple reasons.
Luckily, actually, at the end of the article, it does go on to say that the agency in question is considering closing their service as they don't necessarily comply with the judge's ruling. So seems to me that might be the best thing really all round for both people looking to adopt and for the young people that need loving homes. So there we go. Anyway, should we move on to the next one?
Yes.
What's next?
It's
you.
It's me. Yes. Me.
Ooh.
We've got a great story here actually from the great friend of Pride in Surrey, Peter Tatchell.
Oh, we love Peter Tatchell.
He's a personal friend of mine, yes.
So this story was kind of moves away from the fostering adoption theme just for this particular one, and it says that you can read there yourself. The UK's Gay Liberation Front had trans rights at its heart, despite what transphobes might try to tell you. So this really focuses on the fact that there are some organisations within the country at the moment who are trying to assert that trans people are a new phenomenon, that they're new, that it's just a new trend, and it's absolutely not the case. And what the article goes on to say, it quotes Peter Tatchell, he very clearly says that while they didn't have the vocabulary, they didn't have the word transgender, they didn't have that then, but trans people were very much involved right from the beginning. When they met in the London School of Economics, there was 19 of them that met there and kicked off the fight for equality here in Britain. And right from the beginning, trans people were involved. And I think this is really good. I think at this particular juncture in time, we really, really need it. You know, we saw last year, maybe the year before now, I've lost all track of time in lockdown, furore around the mermaid's cookie in Starbucks.
Oh.
We were just trying to recruit people to be transgender.
Ruining the children with the queer biscuits.
Yeah, as if that's how it works.
That's the only time I went and had a coffee and bought like 10 biscuits. I don't even like biscuits, but I'm gonna have 10 of those.
Yeah, well, we used to go in and just buy them and give them to the neighbours and people we met in the street.
Yeah, and do you know our local we've got 2 Starbucks near to us, and they both sold out frequently. And a lot of people we spoke to, they didn't even like the biscuit; they were just buying it and giving it to whoever because they wanted to support the cause.
I think it's a really good article. I think just making that point very clearly that while the T wasn't there in the LGB at that time, it most definitely was there in the people. You know, it was there represented in the community, and the trans people were as active as every gay man and lesbian woman. And
it's language, isn't it?
Yeah,
that there was many gender diverse people within the core group who were loved, respected, were fighting for LGBT rights. We just didn't have the word trans, and it simply comes down to that.
What are your thoughts, Fran?
Yeah, I think like Peter was saying in the article, doesn't he? Kind of that.
Your mate, Peter.
Yeah,
that's Kelp mate.
That whole movement, actually, as it got going, was all about. It doesn't matter how you identify, whatever sexuality, orientation, gender. You just all fought for one cause, and you all worked together. And I feel like it was so much more vocal and on the street and protesting and lively. And now we have sort of almost segregated a bit, and we are always very vocal about sort of, you know, the campaigns of L with the T and that, and trans women are women, and we do need to come back together again, because it's really tough being under one umbrella because we're all so different, you know. Lesbians are so different to gay men, and trans people have different issues to lesbians and such, but we do have that common denominator that we're all a minority, we've all been persecuted against, and I do think we all need to keep fighting that fight together, but appreciating our individuality as well. I think it's a perfect time for this kind of to come out, as we're talking, you know, on the back of It's a Sin and stuff, and looking back at that sort of not too distant history, and actually taking some things from that maybe we've lost a little bit in our campaigns going forward, and actually how we were as a community back then. So I think it's a really good article to bring to the table. Thanks.
I think so. I feel like as well, you know, I feel like almost with the kind of, I don't know how to describe it, with gender variance is a huge thing now. So people who identify as non-binary, trans, and gender is a social construct. And I think with the rise of that, I wonder if that's fueling people saying, well, all this trans stuff is all very new. But actually it's not. It's absolutely not, as you said. And I think just because it wasn't labelled before, you know, I've got a cup here, but this might not have been called a cup before when it was first invented, but it was still there. It's still, you know, it's called a cup. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? And I guess it's around, you know, I wonder if, I'm just kind of thinking about, obviously from this fostering and adoption perspective, we really get I think in the last 8-9 years I've been working in fostering and adoption sphere, I can remember one couple who came forward and one of them identified as trans. And apart from that, we just don't really get anybody coming forward for fostering adoption. And again, it's just about saying you can come forward. You know, we've been doing, we had a really big discussion about it, didn't we, within our team the other week, and kind of said, we get loads of LGBT people coming forward, but where's the T, as you said? So it's an interesting thing. And I think, yeah, it's in this world, it's really great that you do have, I suppose, things like social media giving people a voice and giving rise to kind of movements and people saying, you know, trans women are women, and against people who are being openly transphobic, particularly celebrities. I can think of certain ones, don't want to get into that. That would probably be a whole other debate if we go into that. But, you know, also thinking about celebrities now who are coming forward and saying, you know, I'm trans, Elliot Page, for example, or celebrities like Sam Smith coming out as non-binary and saying, my pronouns are they, them. I think it's amazing. And I think, you know, we're very welcoming at Surrey County Council as an organisation, just from being an employee of Surrey County Council and everything they do around diversity and inclusion, but particularly just, you know, thinking again about the fostering and adoption thing, we're really open to everybody. And, you know, we have a lengthy assessment process that you will have to go through if you want to foster or adopt, but it's there for a reason. And, you know, Natalie, maybe you can talk a little bit more about how you do explore those sorts of things during assessment.
If Elliot is listening, hopefully, come and adopt with Surrey County Council, Elliot.
Or even just come and speak to us. We'll have you.
Yeah.
Right,
I
Natalie,
think that's
sorry.
no, that's all right. I was just going to say, like, there's so much that's discussed in an assessment, fostering and adoption assessment, and at the end of the day, the crux of the matter comes down to, can this person or can these people provide a safe and loving home for a child, and are they committed to go on a journey with this child and go on a journey with the fostering service, and can we all work together? So I think, like, I often feel like I learn as much from people I assess as I do people I assess. And, you know, I've met some really, really interesting people, and I've been absolutely privileged to hear their stories of really good times in their life, their childhood, really challenging times in their life, and how they either overcame that or what skills they learned to help them look after a child in the future. And I think it's not about sort of what is your identity and what is your construct, but I guess I do like to say to people, how do you identify, and what sort of do you think, have you been discriminated against, and can we explore that a bit further? So I think, you know, I keep saying it, but I think we have those discussions in a friendly way that aren't threatening. So yeah, likewise, we want to learn as well. So it might be, I guess I would say, like, if you were trans again and thinking of applying, it might be, for example, like Fran said, because we've had quite little interest in trans people applying to foster over the years. Again, it could be that we're saying, okay, can you tell us more about your experience and what that means for you, so we can learn from you. But either way, we'll hopefully all get there together. You know, that's not going to be the crux of whether you can foster or adopt or not. So,
and nor should it be. And you know, the T is most definitely firmly with the LGB, and
the having life experience and having a wonderfully diverse community only makes the next generation stronger and better, and you know, resilient. It can only be a good thing, can't it, to have people from all walks of life imparting their knowledge and their love on the next generation.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so too. Our kids
well
are very
said.
lucky, I tell you.
So lucky.
So lucky, our kids. Right, last story.
Molly's.
Molly.
Over to me. Save best till last. Right, I love this. I mean, we've had quite a positive theme tonight, I think, and it's been fantastic. And this is ending on a story about a couple from Sussex, and basically they have gone through their fostering journey, and it's included a lot of COVID, which obviously has caused a lot of issues. And I'm sure it's actually put people off from sort of starting that journey with you guys, because it's been very uncertain, and you can't do what you could do. You couldn't just go out and stuff, could you? So this is fantastic. It says how they overcame the challenges of COVID. And actually, I really like this one because it's two guys, and I think we don't have a lot of representation out there that actually guys are adopting as well. And it's absolutely okay for it to, you know, look at the panel tonight, it's all women. It'd be fantastic to get more men out there. But also these guys, I think, are in their early 50s and late 40s. So actually, you don't have to be, you know, 25 or 30 to adopt. Actually, a little bit of life experience can be really good as well. And because you're not biologically carrying a child, actually, it doesn't matter if you're that little bit older, because actually it's what you've got still left to give. And this is really positive that they have sort of gone through that journey. They've had a supportive organisation that's been helping them, and they've sort of done the online chats with the girl that came to live with them. They did like a little tour of their house so that she could get a feel of what the house would look like. They did a little video, they played some games, and they sort of found really interactive ways of engaging with her and trying to make her feel comfortable. So when they did eventually get to give her a tour of the actual house, it wasn't really daunting. And I think they did manage to do like a socially distanced chat in a park as well. I mean, it must just be so tough for that everybody involved in that, because you can't actually have that tactile conversation. Yeah, I think they said she was really resilient. She was in quite a good place. I don't know what her history was coming into this, and she was really excited, and she seems to have just gone with it, which is fantastic. And now she's moved in. I think they made like a little book about their life and their animals and stuff, so actually she felt like she could just kind of slot into their life. Yeah, so I really like that.
But whether that's just themselves or with the help of agency, obviously they thought of every aspect of this girl coming in and living with them, because obviously they're two men and she's a girl, so I think they've kind of connected with another
like another woman,
another carer, just to make sure that she's got a female
Influence.
Role model.
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and I think that's really important, and you know.
Well,
great.
I think in the past I've heard quite negatively, people would say, oh, you know, two women can't adopt because if it's a boy, they're not going to get all the masculine traits and stuff, and vice versa. And
I'm masculine enough to bring up a boy, I believe.
But actually, how many kids are there growing up in single parent families that maybe don't have, you know, access to their birth parent one way or the other, and they do absolutely fine with kind of that extended family and friends. So it's absolutely no different. It's just making sure every child has a circle of good adults and role models around them, isn't it?
That's it. Positive influences don't need to be, you know, living in your house or related to you. They can be.
It's about your network, isn't it?
Yeah, a friendly teacher, or a football coach, or your mum's mate Rodney from down the road. We've all got these incredible people in our lives, and they don't have to live in our house to be an incredible example and influence upon our lives.
Yeah.
Is this when she starts talking about goats?
Guys put a lot of thought and effort and worked really hard through the pandemic to realise their dreams and to give a home to a young person. They can only be credited for it. They seem like really lovely chaps.
And what shines out is their sheer delight at having her with them. You know, you can tell that they're absolutely thrilled, and it feels from reading it that it's a perfect matching, and and I hope all continues to go well with that placement for that young person, and it's really wonderful. Natalie, were you trying to say something?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, like, all credit to them. And I think, like, when the pandemic kicked off, we were all like, everything in social work or social care nature goes against not seeing people in person. And I think, I'm not going to lie, like, as a social worker, I was proper freaked out. Like, I wasn't going to meet people in person, and I just have to meet them through this screen. But you know, I think I would say, like, hats off to all of the people that we've assessed since the pandemic begun, because nearly everyone has just completely rolled with it and just got on board. We didn't know whether we'd see like a really drastic lowering of people applying, like drastic, our stats would really drop in terms of how many people applied. But if anything, I think, you know, the number of people applying is really positive. And I think also now we've got like a bit of a plan to get out of lockdown and we're moving into the next phase. People are thinking, oh, okay, now maybe I can make that next step and I can pick up the phone or I can go to the event on Saturday, because actually, you know. But also I was just going to say about support network. I think like all the foster carers we've got at Surrey say how important it is to be friends with the other foster carers in Surrey. And, you know, we as the fostering service and social workers offer a large amount of support, but foster carers offer each other so much support as well to those children. You know, it's a community and a support network. So really important. So it's lovely to hear.
Yeah, it's nice to know that those additional things are there, that it isn't just about the relationship with the social worker, you know, that there is that community of other foster carers. And, you know, I think that's a really important message. Like, foster carers aren't isolated.
They can share experiences and you know, yeah.
So if you were to apply as well to foster, we would link you up with an existing foster carer as a buddy for your first year, so you can hear all the social worker sides of one thing, but also you can pick up that phone and say at 3 o'clock in the morning, if you have got something kicking off or something you're really worried about, like, can I speak to an experienced foster carer to get their advice and their perspective as well. People really like that because it's just the first into thinking, what is it really going to be like, and those positive stories and that emotional support through what is a massive step. Like, we appreciate that by applying to foster or adopt, you know, it's a massive step in life. People don't just do it on a whim. The number of people that come to us and say, oh, we've been thinking about it for years, you know, and we respect that. It's really important that we respect that and move with you at your pace. So it's lovely to hear that their dreams almost become true in a way. That's what it sort of read like to me and how it jumped out at me.
And it's great to know that COVID didn't stop it, you know. And when I was talking to the same-sex couple, Laura and Naira, I believe, they started that process in COVID, and you know, it wasn't really delayed. It's still taking 6 months, I think. So that's great to know.
Yeah, just got on with it, really.
Fantastic.
Got to, haven't you? There's still children that need to be home, so you've got to do whatever you can.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop, unfortunately. But we tried to kind of compensate. So we switched a lot of stuff online, kind of do a mixture of kind of online and face-to-face stuff now. So when Natalie's out assessing people, she'll see them half the time. She'll go out and see them face-to-face, full PPE, obviously. But you know, then it's online. We've had to move all our training online. But yeah, I think that article really did. It was a lovely article to read, actually. And it was so nice to see that they'd worked really hard to kind of, so they were having a long-term foster care match. So they would be matched this child on a long-term basis. So it's slightly different with long-term foster care, because obviously you do get to meet the child beforehand and get to be slowly introduced them and build up a little bit of a relationship before they obviously move in to live with you, you know, until they turn 18 and beyond. So it was so nice to see that they managed to kind of find ways to really make the child feel welcomed and really get the child to understand who they are, and also for them to understand who that child is, so that they can kind of build that relationship. It was really nice, and that they did all the stuff online and they did the videos. It was really cool.
And a teenager as well. If I could just put on that plea, we're desperate for foster carers to look after teenagers as well. You know, they get such a bad reputation, and for us it's just about thinking what those you know, teenagers with children wants, what they've come through and what they've experienced as well. So it was really good to hear a positive teenage story.
And taking on a young person rather than a child is slightly different, isn't it? Because the focus, I worked in the sector for a little while, many years ago, but the focus is more about building all those skills for independence, isn't it? So that when they do move on at 18 or whenever they take that leap away, that they are prepared and ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've got, I was going to say, Fran, we've got supported lodgings as well, which is...
That's what I was getting at.
Oh, there we go. We're all on the same page. It's all good. But yeah, we've got supported lodgings as well, which is sort of sits under our umbrella to provide sort of more of a caring and mentoring role towards those aged 16 to 25. So it is slightly different, and it's another thing to just be really excited about and just ask more questions about. You know, a lot of people find it works really well if they're still working quite a lot. You can work full time and be a supported lodgings carer, and some people just prefer sort of guiding a young person towards independence. So that's another form that sits under our fellow care. So.
Wonderful. I'm so glad that you mentioned supported lodgings. I've seen firsthand the benefit to young people from having successful supported lodgings placements, and you know, that they are the trickier ones to place quite often, but they really, really do need it. So thank you for bringing that one up. Right, that's our 4 articles.
Yeah, just for anyone that has watched this programme that would like to know more, we are running a series of adverts throughout the week with contact details to get in touch with the lovely ladies to have a chat about fostering, if you'd like to know more. And you can check out the socials. Couple of girls, is it at Surrey Fostering?
At Surrey Fostering, that's the one. Yeah, across Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook we are. So yeah, check us out. Yeah, particularly if you want to come along and listen into the event on Saturday and hear a little bit more about the experiences. I think it's always great for people to come along to the events. You get to hear firsthand what it's like from people who've lived it, you know, foster carers, and the flip side of that, young people who've also lived with foster families, and kind of what that means for them, and how it's often kind of how it works for them. And I think probably one of the biggest things people worry about, even if they don't say it out loud, sometimes they do say it out loud to us, but one of the biggest things is they worry that they're not going to be good enough. And so at the time, well, are we going to be good enough? Or, you know, XYZ, maybe I can't. And just get in touch with us, find out, ask the questions, because you'll find that there are very few barriers to fostering or adopting. I mean, the big ones being, obviously, you need to have the room in your home. And that, you know, if you haven't got any extra space in your home for a child, then probably isn't going to work. But you know, there's, aside from that, there's very few other things that will stop you from being eligible to foster or adopt. So get in touch, ask questions, find out more. As Natalie said before, we're really nice people, and we'll spend hours talking to you if you really want to get all your questions answered. Don't feel, people often always say, oh, I feel really bad because I'm not ready to apply. That's okay, just come and get the information, and then reflect on it, think about it, go away, come back when you are ready. That's what we're here for, to give people information as well.
Brilliant.
Hopefully we've managed to
shine a light
on people's fears about getting in touch and starting the process. But everyone, keep an eye on our channels for the rest of the week. Go over to at Surrey Fostering and look it up, get involved, engage with the teams,
and if you're in any way interested, just go along on Saturday. Absolutely nothing to lose.
We will be promoting that, and we will share links to that over the next few days and on the day itself, so you can find that easily. But really, we must move on, because we've been talking for 44 whole minutes about these articles, and the main reason we're doing this for this show is for this segment, and it's not actually the segment, it's the credits that we put together for the segment. So Jana, 1 second, bear with me.
Word of the week, word of the week, word of the week.
You have to do it again.
No.
Yeah.
Word of the week, word of the week, word of the week.
Word of the week, please, Jana.
Yeah, so I struggled. I really struggled. I wasn't prepared. When are you ever prepared? I'm really unprepared. I do appreciate you singing the word of the week, because I think that's brilliant. That couldn't have been sung better, so thank you again.
I know. It was Adele and Paloma Faye. Yeah.
Paloma Faye, yeah, forgot about that. Yes. So the word of the week, and I'm sorry, I've been trying to scroll, like, you know, if any of the viewers saw me going like this, it's because I'm trying to find a word of the week.
It's for too much, isn't it?
It isn't. It's better than that.
Go on.
It's better, and I think you know it. Do you know it?
Well,
yeah.
We don't know yet.
Phalanges.
What? Phalanges?
Yeah.
I only know it from Phoebe saying it on Friends.
Yeah. Lisa's face.
Well, you see, I think this word is like, it's got a really boring meaning, doesn't it? But actually, it sounds so rude.
It sounds lovely.
What
And
is
I'm
it?
sorry. So I'm going to have to read this because this is too much for me to
You
say.
can't remember what it is, can you?
No, I can't. It's something to do with troops and police forces.
Come on.
Phalanges, meaning plural term for phalanx. No idea what that is. A body of troops or police officers standing or moving in close formation, or fictitious surname popularized by Phoebe from Friends.
Yeah.
Phalanges. Phoebe
We can
phalanges.
tell that one was hastily thrown together during the recording because you've come up with these beautiful, mellifluous words, and then you come up with something from Friends for this episode.
And I'm so sorry because today I was really trying to find a word that meant something special, something family, something children, something incredible. And
It kind of does, because if it's a troop moving, like when you watch it from
Formation.
above and they're all in a formation, that's the
Like the
family
Von Trapp
working
children.
together.
I don't think fostering and adoption's like the Von Trapp children, but it would be quite funny, wouldn't it, if you had
If they were
children
like
singing and
that,
singing.
you'd have people queuing up out the doors, wouldn't you? I want a children that can sing.
Farewell, farewell,
Anyway. Now we've done Word of the Week, and actually after last week's episode we had a lot of really positive feedback, and we did an article last week and we've had scores of people not asking for this at all, so I thought I would do it because Dylan liked it, and Dylan's one of our biggest fans, and he said he thought it was brilliant, so we've gone with it. So we've got Word of the Week. I've done Goat of the Week.
Of course you have.
So last week, what did we have? We had Simon the goat, didn't we? And Trevor the
We
goat,
did.
and Molly wouldn't allow a goat to be called Ian because of a
No.
past experience. But this week, right, we've allocated Goat of the Week. You ready?
I love that you followed through on this.
Carl. This week's Goat of the Week is Carl, and he comes from Exeter. And Carl's photograph was submitted by his wife Wendy. So thank you.
Can we go back to him? Look how cool he looks. Look at his little side smile.
Oh,
Yeah, he's well
He's
happy
so
to be on.
lovely. I
Oh
love
my
it.
God, he looks like me after a
Goats
couple
are
of runs.
brilliant.
Anyway, thanks to Wendy for sending that in. Carl is 42. He works in carpentry. His hobbies include carpentry and goating. Thank you all for joining us. I'm sorry it got a bit silly towards the end there, but we don't like to be too serious on this show. But thank you so much for joining us, and we will be doing everything we can to direct people your way in the coming weeks and actually throughout the year, because we really believe in what you're doing.
Thank you
Thanks
so
so much,
much
lady.
for having us, and I can't wait to see your goat, greatest of all time goat. You've got to do one. GOAT goat.
Oh, go!
You've got to do one, right?
Oh,
Greatest of all time goat. Goat.
we need like an ideas thing, a thing that you've got
A
the
suggestions box.
Yes.
I'll explain it to you after.
What do I do?
Human think tank.
Goat. Oh, there's one for December,
People-
though.
Yeah, Jana, that's confused. People shorten greatest of all time to GOAT, goat. So you've got to have the greatest of all time goat.
Sorry, it's the foreigner in me.
I think
You
we
know,
should
like,
calendar.
Yes, there we go. Christmas
Fundraiser.
calendar, fundraising,
Nice.
Christmas calendar for World AIDS Day in December. That's what we'll do. Go for
Perfect.
it.
Don't commit to too much.
I'm committing us to that. Agree entirely with everything I've said. Just please put it in the comments below, and I'll just run with it like I did with Goat of the Week.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always,
Love
always
it.
nice to have something to get my teeth into. Anyway, we really have to go before I start talking any more scribble. Thank you for joining us, girls. We really appreciated having you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And really nice to
you.
see you. And
you.
this has been
Bye.
News on the News. Cheerio.
Good night, all.
Bye.
Hello, I'm a gay mum of 3 grown-up birth children and 1 adopted child. My fostering journey started 10 years ago and my adoptive journey 8 years ago. That wasn't planned, but she's such a welcome addition to our family. It's just brilliant. To all LGBT plus people out there who are thinking of fostering or adopting, I can't recommend it more highly. I wish I hadn't taken so long. It took me too long to decide whether or not to do it, but it's been extremely rewarding. Tiring at the same time, but rewarding. I've had nothing but positive experiences. My supervising social worker and all at Surrey services are just so supportive. I've had positive experiences all the way. So if you're thinking of doing it, just give it a go. Children don't present on paper as they do in person. They're kids, and I've learned a lot doing fostering, and I'd suggest you have a go at it. Thank you.